The first choice an author has to make before the pen goes anywhere near the paper is what language to write in. In my case, and probably in yours, this would be English. Simple, yes? Simple, no, because there's more than one kind of English. Broadly speaking, these are divided into the English spoken in the United States of America and the English spoken in the rest of the English-speaking world, which is sometimes called UK English or British English. What does this mean? What's the difference? Well, in the US, words like realise are spelt with a Z rather than an S. The word theatre ends in TER rather than TRE as we spell it here. Another example is, most striking one probably, is the U added to words like colour and neighbour. How to decide? 3 questions will help an author make the better choice. 1. Where is the book set? 2. What version of the language is spoken by the protagonists? And 3. Where is your main audience? In my case, I knew that most of my readers were going to be across the pond in the States. So, should I use US English? On the other hand, my books are set in England, in a quaint English village steeped in English traditions, and the main protagonists speak British English. So, to give the full flavour of the location and the people who live there, the villagers, I chose British English. And this turned out to be a really good choice, although it did have some repercussions, which I'll tell you about another time. So, there was the choice made, British English. Simple, yes? Simple, no, because there's more to British English than meets the eye. And we'll talk about that next time, which will bring us to the question of what is foreign? So, as an author, you've made the choice to use UK or British English, which means you'll be putting a U in words like colour and neighbour. Choice made. A smooth road from now on. Not quite, because the way that your characters speak UK English is again going to affect your spelling. For example, there are Hertfordshire, Cornish, Welsh, Scottish and Cockney ways of pronouncing words. For example, you yourself, regardless of which country you're in, upon a New Year's Eve may have sung Auld Lang Syne, which is the Scottish way of saying old long since or for old time's sake. In the books, a beloved resident of Sunken Madley, Amanda's village, Sylvia is from the East End of London, so she's a Cockney. And the way that she pronounces words means that she drops her H's. For example, instead of saying, "Hello, handsome, do you need help with your hat?" she would say, "Hello, handsome, do you need help with your hat?" You get the idea. Of course, there are also ways of speaking English, pronouncing words that are special to any particular English-speaking country. So in the books we have Australian Megan, who's a favourite carer at Pipkin Acres residential home, hailing a character called Gwendolyn as Gwendolyn and Amanda as Amanda, which means in the spelling the second A of Amanda will be replaced with an E. But where is the foreign in all of this? Well, next time we get to the heart of that curious matter. What do we mean by foreign? It's not as simple as you might think. It's a descendant of the Latin word meaning outside. So foreigner is an outsider and not necessarily somebody from abroad. For example, in the Amanda Cadabra books, retired headmaster Gordon French warns Amanda about foreigners, and he explains himself when he says this means people who are not village. By that he means people who aren't resident. So residents would be insiders regardless of their ethnic background, and foreigners would be someone who's not resident even if they only live a mile down the road. This may not make much sense these days, but thinking back hundreds of years ago to when most travel was done on foot, that distance between your village and the next, the amount of time it takes to travel it. A hill would be quite a barrier, it would be like a border, that or a river. And over time, the two places in isolation would have developed different dialect words, different ways of expressing things, and different ways of doing things, different customs, even different dress. Generally speaking, however, when we use the word foreigner, we mean somebody from abroad, from a country other than ours. So as a writer, you've made the decision that you will have a foreign character in your book. Now you have a new decision to make. As a writer, you've opted to have a foreign character in your story. The question now is, do they speak perfect English? If so, then that's fine. You don't have to change the spelling at all. If the answer is no, they have an accent. How are you going to convey this in your writing? Research. Listen to YouTube videos of people with that accent. Read how other authors have rendered it. Ask friends who are from there. You can either go on Fiverr.com and consult a voiceover accent specialist there. Take the time to get it right. It shows respect to the language and the people, and you can bet there'll be a reader who comes from that place. And wouldn't you rather have a review complimenting you on your research and accuracy than otherwise? The next big choice will be, are they going to speak their own native tongue in the story? If yes, how are you going to make sure that your reader understands what it is that they've said? There are 3 ways, and I'll cover that in another video. You, the writer, have decided that your foreign character is going to be speaking a language other than English in the dialogue. How are you going to make sure that your readers can understand what that person is saying? There are 3 ways. Here is an example of the first way. Muchas gracias, she said. You're welcome, he replied. Even if you don't speak a word of Spanish, it's clear from the context that the character has said thank you. What's the second way? Well, the second way is to get the character themselves to do the translation. Here's an example from Amanda Kadabra and the Heidi Hold Truth, where Amanda is speaking Wikieth, the magical spell language of the books. Forag Siotha Macungrians a Aclaundra. Amanda read the title and attempted a translation. For the making of wonderful things? The third way to convey the meaning behind a foreign language is simply to state that the protagonist is speaking a language other than English. So, for example, nice to meet you, she said in French. So, 3 ways to make sure that your readers understand foreign language in your book. So the series is called Fabulous Foreigners in Fiction. So who are these fabulous foreigners? In the next video, I'm going to give you the list. So who are the fabulous foreigners of fiction? Well, these are among the most famous. Count Dracula, from the book by Bram Stoker, from Transylvania. Second, Bond's possibly most beloved villain, Auric Goldfinger. Not German or Austrian as you might think from his accent, but from originally Latvia. Thirdly, not from anything written but fiction, so it qualifies, Yoda from Star Wars. But what about the mystery genre? There are outstanding sleuths who have been created by talented, award-winning writers all over the globe. For example, Swedish Inspector Kurt Wallander in the series by Henning Mankell, translated into English, and Louise Penny's French-Canadian Chief Inspector Gamache. But the purpose of this series of videos is to look at the decisions authors need to make regarding accents and dialect in their books. As a mystery author, I'm homing in on that genre, especially the golden age of cosy mystery, the 1920s and 30s. Which sleuths had foreign accents? I've only been able to find 3. We've had the 4 queens of cosy mystery. Maybe we could call these detectives the 3 kings of fabulous foreigner sleuthery. They've all been the subject of controversy. Both been condemned as negative stereotypes and hailed as positive depictions of characters from those countries, especially 100 years ago. The first 2 are relatively obscure, but were phenomenally celebrated during their heyday, when they each became the starring role in a series of films that played to packed-out cinemas. Starting with the lesser-known Mr. Moto. He's a fictional Japanese secret agent created by the American author John Phillips Marquand. In the pre-war novels, accent and syntax reflect the influence of Mr. Moto's native language on his spoken English. Here's one you may have heard of. Charlie Chan, created by author Earl Derr Biggers. Charlie Chan is a Chinese American who is a detective with the Honolulu police, and once again he has a distinctive accent. Third, and the only one whose popularity has endured into our decade, created by the legendary Agatha Christie, none other than Hercule Poirot. Are they fabulous? In the sense of being characters from fable? Yes. Fabulous in the sense we usually mean? You decide. Are there any others who should be on this list? Please let me know. The final question in this series is, how do you arrange your words and spelling to create an accurate written accent or dialect? I'll see you in the next video. You wanted to create a fabulous foreigner for your story. How to tweak their speech to show your character's accent. There are 3 ways. 1 is with spelling, 2 with syntax, that's how we arrange words, and 3, and perhaps surprisingly, using your character's own foreign language. In the next series of videos, I'm going to show you exactly how to do that, what to listen for, and how to put it down on the page so that your readers hear what you hear in your head when you create your scintillating dialogue.